Basel Bold Guy presents SoloHammer BalconyHammer Edition. This is a narrative open play game of PoorHammer, although the Poor is not so much anymore as my Game Mat EU delivery has arrived. It's going to be Necrons versus Death Guard, 1,000 points each side. First time playing with the Necrons, so no idea what I'm doing. Let's see what happens. Deployment is complete for this 1,000 point game, narrative open play game of Necrons versus Death Guard. The Death Guard have set up the long table edge, or short table edge, depending on how stupid you may be. Fairly defensive positions, all the way up though, however, to the 12 inches of their deployment zone. The PoorHammer this week is essentially the bad painting or lack thereof. So we've got over here a Mythic Blight Hoarder backed up with a Demon Prince. Squad of 10, no upgrades other than a single Flail of Contagion Plague Marines. 18 because of points Poxwalkers. Malignant Plaguecaster on our home objective over here. And a Rhino deployed with 10 Plague Marines and a Flail in that unit as well there. Coming over to the Necron side of the table, I have no idea what I'm doing with the Necrons. So some Scarabs set up on their home objective over here. Some more Scarabs within 3 inches of another objective just towards the edge of no man's land. Unit of 10 warriors with Gauze Flayers, I think. Hexmark, Destroyer, that's not true, it's a Locust Heavy Destroyer, a Plasmancer and the Overlord on the right hand side. Over towards the left we've got the Canoptic Reanimator, the Royal Warden, 3 Scarabs, 10 warriors with Gauze Reapers, and on the far left the Scorpeth Lords with the Scorpeth Destroyers and Plasma Sight. So after the deployment, we're going to roll up and see who goes first. Black dice is Necron, green dice is the Nerdy Boys. And it's a 6 and a 2, so Necrons go first. End of the Necrons' first turn. Because of the long table length, not a lot has happened. The Scarabs have stayed still down here. Overlord, warriors with flayers, Plasmancer all moved forward. The warriors actually rolled a 5 for their advance, so they got a long way up the table. The Locust Heavy Destroyer popped up onto here to give himself a better shooting angle and actually fired down at the squad of Plague Marines. Mistake and a learning moment is it was a blast weapon, squad of 10. I rolled the dice instead of taking the maximum shots. End of that was 1 Plague Marine bought the farm. Everything else here just shuffled forward. The Reanimator popping its reanimation beam onto the squad of warriors, and a big advance for the Scorpeth Destroyers, Plasma Sight and Scorpeth Lord down the left flank. And that is the end of the turn. Very little happening and no points scored yet. So sorry about the noise. I'm stood out on the balcony so you can hear someone hammering away. It's the end of the Death Guard's first turn and almost nothing has happened. The Poxwalkers shambled forward or advanced forward, as did the Mythic Blight Hauler and the Rhino. Just so for reference, the barricades, because they've totally blocked everything in, are traversable, so they can be driven over. The Malignant Plaguecaster has stayed back, partially hidden by the crate, and put Miasma Pestilence onto the Marines, and the Demon Prince put Miasma Pestilence onto the Poxwalkers, but there is no shooting to be had. Nothing either in range or that didn't already advance. So that's the end of Death Guard turn 1. The Necron movement phase over. So at the start of the phase they scored 2 points for being on 2 of their home objectives, 1 point each. Should the Death Guard hold these at any point, or the Necrons hold the Death Guard's home objectives, they will be double points, and the centre objective is worth triple. The Hexmark Destroyer stayed still, and it's still a Locust Heavy Destroyer stayed still. Scarab staying still, Scarab staying still. Over here we have just shuffled forward with the Necrons just to the edge of the crater, which slowed them down, but they have not advanced, choosing to be able to see if they've got anything in range. Being kept up with by the Plasmancer and the Overlord. And some more shuffling on the left over here. The reanimation beam is of course on the warriors. The most interesting move here has come around the side where the Scorpeth Destroyers and Lord and Plasma Sight have moved forward their 8, lining up a charge on that Rhino. Quick note for the end of the movement phase, the Plasmancer actually is in range of the Rhino within 24. It's also in range of the Mythic Blight Hauler but can't see it. So Harbinger of Destruction means roll 3d6, each 4 pluses a mortal wound to the closest unit, and the Rhino took 2 mortal wounds. In the Necron shooting phase, the Locust Heavy Destroyer took aim at the Rhino, trying to pop that open and get to the juicy Plague Marines inside. Absolute whiff. The Warriors though, with rapid fire 1 weapon, so 20 shots into the Rhino, hit with all 20,
They had the +1 from the Overlord, and they've actually managed to do 7 wounds, which were not saved. So the Rhino's popped, and I'm just about to deploy the Death Guard. The Rhino-shaped hole has been left after the Necron warriors popped it open with their -1 to shots. No saves at all. I didn't think I was going to be able to get all of those Marines out, and around and stay in coherency. They've actually managed to be in coherency and fully within 3 of the explosion, or lack of explosion from the Rhino. But they are right there, ready to be charged by a lot of Necron Scorpion destroyers and the Lord. And none of the Marines died on the way out, no ones being run. End of the Necron shooting phase. The second lot of warriors were out of range and there's nothing else to fire. The Locust destroyers, the Scorpeth destroyers are going to see if they can make their charge. It's probably about 5 or 6 inches into the squad of Plague Marines, so let's see what happens. 7, they will definitely be in. So we'll put them in a second, and we'll see if we can get the Lord in as well. The Lord has rolled an 8, so he should also make it in. We'll see in a second. Plague Marines have chosen to spend a command point and overwatch these the Scorpeth destroyers coming in on the charge. So going to be 2 lots of 10 rolled here, seeing what happens. So we're hitting on 6s. First roll, there is a single 6 in there, so we'll roll another 9 and then an extra 1 because I don't have enough dice. And there's another 2 6s, and then 1 final dice, nothing. So 3 hits. Let's see what the wounds are. It's going to be wounding on 5s. No wounds, and that was a waste of time. Into the fight phase. The only fight that will be taking place here is the Scorpeth destroyers versus the Plague Guards. The Lord didn't actually make it in with the 8. The Crater would have got in the way, and the Scorpeth destroyers actually only just made it in. There's only 2 that are actually, all 3 can actually get in there. So the first attack will be with the Hyperphase Blade. So 3 attacks hitting on 3s. Rerolling 1s, no need for that though. 2 hits, this is strength +2, so it's strength 7, toughness 5, wounding on 3s. 2 wounds at -4 and 3 damage each, so the Plague Marines just get cut straight through, 2 of them taken down there with the first set of attacks. So we are on to the Thresher attacks, 6 attacks, or 8 attacks, sorry. Rerolling 1s, which is not great. There's a bunch of 2s in there. So there's actually only 3 hits. 3 hits at strength 5, toughness 5 is going to be 4s to wound, and 1 wound with a -2, I think. -3 and 2 damage. So let's see if there's a save. So nope, there is no save, and 2 damage, -1. So one of the Marines takes a wound. The Plague Marines are going to fight back after losing 2 to the first set of attacks and a single wound to the Thresher Blades. So only 2 Marines actually in fighting range. So 4 attacks. Plague Champions at the back, hitting on 3. So that's 2 hits, no rerolls. Wounding on 4s because they are strength 4, toughness 4 because of the -1 for contagion. 1 wound. Rerolling the 1 for Plague Weapons. So still a single wound. And that is no melee, so I think it's a 3+ save, yep, and the Scorpeth Destroyer is okay. No, that's the end of the turn actually. There's nothing else we've done, there's no morale anywhere. The Marines lost 2 and a wound, so even if they roll a 6 they'll still pass. And that's the end of the Necrons phase. So it's 2 points to 0 to the Necrons going into the Plague Marines, or the Death Guard, turn 2. End of the Death Guard movement phase. The Malignant Plaguecasters move forward slightly just to keep himself in range, maybe get a smite in on something, or cast something like Miasma of Pestilence onto the Plague Marines. Everything else is shuffled forward. The barricades and everything else starting to get in the way and actually cause some slowdown of movement. So the Death Guard are actually bunched in the middle of the table now, but it is going to be a shooting phase where they can see and they could cause some damage here. The Mephitic Bloat Hauler has just moved onto the centre and actually will be on the centre objective going forward. And they've gained 2 points for being on their home objective and previously on the objective over here, which they're not going to be on next turn unless those Plague Marines, or sorry, the Poxwalkers are just. Plague Marines chose to fire at the Scorpeth Lord. It was about the only target they could actually hit. Only 3 of them are in range, but they actually managed to score 2 wounds. The Scorpeth Lord failing 2 saves with a 1 and a 2. Miasma of Pestilence was cast by the Malignant Playcaster onto this unit of Plague Marines, making them -1 to hit. And a smite was cast onto the Scorpeth Destroyers, causing 2 mortal wounds. Shooting phase is not over yet though. We do have Mephitic Blighthauler with everything available to fire. At the end of the fight phase, the Mephitic Blighthauler and Poxhawkers failed charges. They were long bombed through the crater, nothing happened there. The Plague Marines have outdone themselves in the battle against the Scorpeth Destroyers. Destroyers whiffing massively, taking out 2 Plague Marines, maybe 3 actually, but in return losing 2 and taking the final one down to 1 wound. We move on to turn 3 for the Necrons.
At the start of the Necrons turn, reanimation protocols have brought 1 back into this blob of warriors. The Scorpeth Destroyers didn't get lucky on their reanimation protocols and nothing happened there. They have regained 1 wound with living metal. That's the Scorpeth Lord, and that is the command phase broadly over. The reanimation beam will be on this squad of warriors again, and the Overlord's My Will Be Done will be on the squad of warriors in the middle, who are going to advance onto or move on to that objective and contest it, or in fact, with objective secured, take it for the next turn. They've also scored an extra 2 points, taking them to 4 victory points. At the end of the Necron movement phase, the Heavy Destroyer staying still, everything else moving forward other than the Scarabs, which are on their home objectives. The Necrons now control that middle objective for the start of next turn, and the Death Guard are going to have to do something about that. This is going to turn into a real slugfest, and Necrons are sneakily thinking with the Overlord to use Veil of Darkness potentially in a couple of turns' time and get themselves all the way back there and see if they can take that home objective off the Death Guard. Of course, the Death Guard don't know that. At the end of the Necron turn 3 shooting phase, everything fired into the Mephitic Blighthauler and has actually managed to take it down to 1 wound before the Scorpeth Lord has shot in. And managed to take the final wound, so it's exploded, causing mortal wounds to both units of the warriors, who have both lost a single warrior. Necron charge phase, the Scorpeth Lord rolled a 10 and got himself into the Plague Marines, and the smaller blob of warriors has actually rolled an 11 and gone straight through both of the craters into the Poxhawkers, trying to tie them up and stopping them get to the centre objective. So first to part of the fight phase, Scorpeth Lord is going to be hitting on 3s because it's -1 to hit with his powerful attack. 4 attacks, no re-rolls, so only 2. It's going to be strength 8 against toughness 5 on the Marines. So wounding on 3s, no re-roll there either. That's -4, so that's going to be a dead Marine. It's a 3 wounds, or flat 3 wounds, reduced down to 2 for the disgustingly resilient, and that's a dead Marine. End of the Necron fight phase, the Scorpeth Lord has managed to take out a few Plague Marines, but actually has come off worse out of the wear. The Scorpeth Destroyer was destroyed by the Plague Flail, and the Scorpeth Lord took a wound. The Necron Warriors killed a couple of Poxwalkers, and they managed to do absolutely nothing in return. Death Guard turn 3 up to 4 points and 8 command points. Command points have been completely forgotten to this point, mainly because I'm learning the Necrons and I'm not really paying much attention. Bit of shuffling around. The Marines have moved on to this objective to make sure that they've got this. They did get the point for it because the Poxwalkers are there, but the Marines are going to move back and get some firing positions later on. Apologies for the wind. These Marines have fallen out of combat from the Scorpeth Lord, who you will see is not there. And that is because the Smite coming in from the Malignant Playcaster and the Demon Prince, who moved forward his 8 inches and also smited, took him out. The Scorpeth Lord is no more, opening up the battlefield a bit. Actually, that Scorpeth Lord could have caused some serious damage if he was left to roam around on his own. Into the Plague Guard shooting phase, and the Plague Guard over in the Plague Marines in the Death Guard shooting phase, and the Plague Marines are going to shoot into this squad of warriors. So there's 16 rapid fire shots coming in, hitting on 3s. That's not a bad spread of hits. There's 1, couple of 2s in there. Everything else is hit, so that's 13. Strength 4, toughness 4, so it's going to be wounding on 4s. And that is pretty poor. What have we got? 3, 4, 5, 6 wounds into the warriors, who will have a 3-up save. And they actually failed 2, so 2 warriors bite the farm. The Prince will also shoot into the same unit of warriors, so it's going to be D6 with a Plague Sprayer for 2. It's auto-hitting. It's going to be Strength 5, Toughness 4, they're not in contagion range in round 3, it's not quite far enough. 1 wound, failed to save, and there's another 1 dead.
End of Necron's turn 4, shooting and fight phase. The Plasmonster caused 3 immortal wounds at the end of the command phase on the Demon Prince. Command phase also managed to bring back 3 into the blob of now gone Necron warriors here. The Demon Prince killing them in combat, and all the other charges were failed. Over here, the Poxwalkers and the Necron warriors have been battling and doing little to each other. The Necron warriors actually not managed to take out a single Poxwalker this turn, but they lost 2 themselves for the first time in that particular combat, and that is the end of Necron's turn 4. At the end of the Death Guard shooting and charge phase, pretty much nothing has happened. Death Guard shot everything they had for the bolters from unit down here and the unit up in the ruins into the Royal Warden, the Overlord. 0 damage whatsoever. In fact 2, but both saved easily. Everything else is either locked up or has no shooting. The Malignant Playcaster is well out of range at the back. He did cast Miasma of Pestilence onto this smaller unit of Plague Marines here. And that is it for shooting. We're on to the charge phase. Both units of Plague Marines failed. The Plague Marines up here tried to charge the Overlord, missed, and the unit here rolled a 4 with the barricade in the way, meaning that they aren't getting into those Necron warriors either. At the end of the Death Guard fight phase, the Plague Prince, Demon Prince even, managed to destroy the Royal Warden without taking any damage whatsoever, no problem, and has consolidated over towards the Overlord. That could be Warlord on Warlord combat in the next turn, or in fact the final turn for the Necrons. The Poxwalkers at Necrons continue to battle to a standstill. 2 Poxwalkers were lost and 1 Necron, and that is it for the fight phase. The start of Necron's turn 5. This is the last turn, and they're in a very, very good position here. They don't control the middle of the objective anymore, but that's not a major problem because they're getting another 2 points to take them up to 9 for the game. And that will be their final score unless they get Warlord later on. There is a point for Warlord in this narrative battle. They're going to use the Orb of Resurrection and put that onto, assuming it's in range, onto the unit of warriors and see if we can bring as many of them or all of them back. Let's see what happens there. And follow it up with the Plasmonster. In fact, we'll do that now on camera. Plasmonster rolls a single 4+, which means the Demon Prince takes a single mortal wound. Not bad. The Resurrection Orb has been used just in range with the Overlord to the back end of the back model of the unit of Necron warriors in the middle there. Now the Necrons are currently at 9 points to the Death Guard 6, and the Death Guard in their next turn can only actually get 2 unless they can eliminate the Overlord and also those Necron warriors. However, the Necrons have got one way of guaranteeing victory. The Necron Overlord is going to use the Veil of Darkness and move himself and the Necron warriors, who are just within 3, to the back end of that unit, over into the Death Guard deployment zone and see if they can get onto that objective at the back and mean that the Death Guard cannot win the game. Let's see what happens. Following up on the use of Veil of Darkness, actually the Overlord was just out of range of the back end of the Necron warriors. He has transported himself over here 9 inches, which is a 12-inch charge plus the 3 up for the level to the Malignant Playcaster, but it has made it much harder for the Death Guard to actually get Warlord in the next turn. The Demon Prince likely would have destroyed the Overlord. So we're going on to the Necron shooting phase, which will be very, very short. There'll be a couple of shots from the Reanimator and the Plasmancer and the Hexmark Destroyer, and that will be it. And then we'll go on to charge and fight phase. At the end of the Necron turn 5 shooting phase, everything went into the Demon Prince in the centre, taking 1 wound in total. Not a successful shooting phase. We're on to the charge phase, and the only one that matters is the Overlord at the back here. If he makes this long bomb charge, and he has many points to re-roll, and he's +1 on the charge, so he needs to roll an 11. And he's failed with a 6. We'll re-roll that with a command point. And a fail, so he doesn't make it in. Over here, these are auto-win charges pretty much. The Plasmancer into the guy. Oh no, he has actually managed to fail. Can't re-roll that. The Reanimator in. The Reanimator makes it in. End of the Necron fight phase, and as unsurprisingly, the Demon Prince has completely destroyed the Canoptic Reanimator, consolidating into the Plasmancer. The Poxwalkers and Necrons continue to do nothing in the middle, and that's the end of the fight phase. We're going on to Death Guard turn 5, and I believe it may be impossible for them to win here. This is it for the Death Guard. This is literally their last chance for a draw. They're a victory point behind. Everything is going to be shot into the Warlord. If they get the Warlord and kill him in this phase, it will be a draw, otherwise they will lose. There's going to be a lot of command points spent. There are currently 10. I've forgotten to add one to the dice, the 9 on the left with the white dice as the command points. They're going to spend 6 command points, I believe. Fire Fever twice for both units of Plague Marines. Overwhelming Generosity twice for both units of Plague Marines, and also Virulent Rounds for both units of Plague Marines. Everything into the Warlord. If it doesn't make it, then this game is over. Just picking this up after the first unit of Plague Marines have shot. They have shot and got 5 wounds with the +1s to wound against the Lord. If all of these fail the saves, then that will be it for the Warlord. He has a 4+ save, but actually I think he's probably on his 3+ save. Let's just check. Yeah, he's on his 3+ save. So 3+ save to survive this. And he has failed 2 of them, so he's taken 2 wounds. We're on to the larger unit of Plague Marines. This really could be a problem for the Overlord, and could be a draw. Shooting now, hitting on 3s. No re-rolling, so there's a few 1s and 2s in there that are no good to anyone. In fact, there's a lot of 1s and 2s. That's not great at all. Wounding on 4s because of the +1 to wound. Re-rolling 1s because they count as plague weapons because of the Virulent Rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This could do it. 6 3-up saves. He fell 1 and he lives. That is it. That is the way the world ends. Or that's the way this world ends. And the Necrons have won 9 points to 8. Game over.